I'm excited for this breakdown because it's like I'm always tracking what's working, what's not working when it comes to video marketing, video efforts, and marketing in general. But it's fun to see real examples, which I'm going to unpack. For those that are just joining, I'm Alexander at TerraLeap. I lead the marketing over here.
And I am Leanne, also at TerraLeap, and I am the chief storyteller. I tell stories.
Tell stories.
What I
It's so
do.
much fun to tell stories. And for today's discussion, I'm kind of unpacking here is what are the major trends we've been seeing and are tracking in the last 6-7 months for 2024 when it comes to using video in your marketing efforts to both capture attention, be able to engage your audience, and then convert them into paying customers. And we're going to kind of go through each one together. Yeah, so the first major trend that we see.
The first one.
The first one, yeah. Let's start.
Yeah,
That's always a good place to start.
The first one.
Well,
Sorry, I just
yes.
revealed it. Is it too
You're
soon?
ready.
Did I
It's like, oh, now it happened. Customer stories. I mean, this is not necessarily new concept. All right, let's get case studies or testimonials. But what I would see is I've been seeing a massive growth in companies getting their customers into their marketing efforts. And there's a couple reasons why. One is I think customers are more ready than ever before to be on video. Thanks to the pandemic, we've done so many video calls. It's just people are used to being.
Everybody's just they're so much more set up and prepared. They have they're familiar with the technology in a way that they weren't before. Like everybody's just so much more comfortable in this zone than they used to be 4 or 5 years ago, right?
It's like video was used to be left for just certain places and times and environments, but now because of the rise of also platforms, technologies, it's easier than ever to be on video, Instagram, YouTube, etc. That people are like, well, yeah, sure, video, no problem. So on one side, it's super easy, and then the other side, or people are used to and comfortable being on video, and then the other side, it's really easy to be able to folks to be able to capture video, and then you have the desire for this type of content. I think there's this craving for authentic, real people.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's so much content created that doesn't have people in it, right? It's become the explainer video, that doesn't see real faces talking about real things.
Like the rise of AI-generated content and generative AI. The question is, all right, what's real? Can I trust this? This is a real company and the brand behind it. And so as soon as you put a real person's face and a story behind it, and particularly with the customer, it's someone I understand, it's my peer. There's so much power to that.
Absolutely.
So then when we start to say if you're gonna capitalize on this trend and you're gonna start to do it, you definitely want to find and identify customers that have had the most impact with your solution, with your product, so that you can highlight that.
You want to find the people that really love you for what you do. Because,
the raving fans.
Yeah, because it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then being able to help them tell that story. Because there are a couple of ways you can capture these, whether it's just sending out a link and they record it on their own, they send it back. That works great for if you have a high volume type of business, lots of customers, just send me this link. But you don't have as much control over that environment or what comes back on that content. Then you have the more interview format, which is kind of where we look a lot, because then you can control a lot more of the storytelling. So, I mean, curious on your thoughts on Leanna, like if someone needs to keep it in mind of if they want to tell a good story, a customer story. I mean, what's some tips you'd share?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing to sort of we're always balancing is between finding that really good story, but also keeping it natural, right? You don't want it to sound scripted. You don't want it to sound rehearsed. You want it to be real. Like the whole point of making these videos is to get an authentic point of view. But there is the flip side of that you also have to try to craft the compelling narrative from within that. So it's about striking that balance and letting them speak their truth, but guiding them to say it in a way that is going to benefit you the most, right? Because they're doing you this favor, they want to help you. So how can we put this in a way that is going to be most beneficial but still be real?
Yes. It's like, all right, how do we make it come across genuine and it's approachable, but also you get the nuggets in there and the proper storytelling. Because it's like I always look at three ingredients. It's like, all right, how can we really drive into the pain and that problem they were experiencing, and as ideally as emotional as possible, and then being able to get those specificities, the details, and then okay, what was the outcomes? Yeah, so being able to follow that, having a just nice conversation, you can do that. You don't have to make it too scripted to be able to get that. Get that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's when I start to look at some examples of around when I start to see, I'll share my screen and show you some of the stuff that I've been seeing. So you got larger enterprise companies, Ring Central, and it's fascinating. I mean, before, if you look at the number of case studies, because these companies would always have case studies, but the quantity of video versions is definitely increased, the amount to watch. And they actually have a combination of kind of higher quality, sending out an on-location crew, to more, hey, let me ask them to send something in,
Right.
more UGC style, user-generated, to the remote recording, where you do like on a Zoom call or use other technology to interview them. So you can actually use a mixture of these. And again, the quantity that I'm seeing with Vitally, like they're doing 20, 30 or more stories. Chili Piper also is another company that is massively growing the number of stories they're doing out there. I'm a fan of like Prismatic, and actually one thing they used it for is even pulling the data out of their video stories into a cost calculator. So then you could
Oh, that's
both
cool.
see the story, so you get the emotional side, but then you get the data side to see the logical side. So it's
I
like
love that.
combining all of that into one. So customer stories, definitely a massive a trend that is only growing, getting customers more into your marketing efforts. Let's look at trend number 2.
Time number 2, we're ready for it. Let's go.
Thought leadership. Yes, thought leadership videos. Why is this is growing so much? It's there was always a subset, I think, of people and companies that were putting out thought leadership, but now putting it into video format. That's kind of probably the newer thing, because you could put out white papers and research reports, like that's been around for a long time. But now translating that into video, I think it's in many cases in our personal lives, we're used to consuming everything in a video format. Like when you go to YouTube, you can go to other places, I'll search for my answers. And so now we're in the business realm. We want the same type of answers in the format and way we're used to consuming in our personal side. So it's like just translating over. But then there's a lot of different ways I think these can play out. Whether it's like Q&As, so like you have multiple people on a call like this, being able to talk about it and unpack, or one person on screen, and really just diving deeper. I mean, what are your thoughts on thought leadership, and if somebody wants to start to dig into it, to share?
I mean, I think the thing to remember is that your reputation is on the line, right? That if you're bringing someone forward to represent you and what your knowledge and it's just important, I think, again, for it to sound authentic. Like, you want them to sound smart, but you also want to avoid being overly promotional or salesy, or what you want is genuine expertise. You want people who really actually know what they're doing, not people who just sound kind of smart or sound like they're trying to sell you something.
It's like you need firsthand experience that you're bringing to the table to actually make it authentic and helpful, or you've done research and you've got stats. Whether if you have it firsthand, like you've experienced it, or you've done the research and you found the data that can back it up and the hard facts to substantiate your argument or perspective, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
There was a recent post by leading marketer Sarah Latanzio, and she talked about thought leadership. It requires both. You actually have to have a thought that is interesting, that people want, and you have to be leading the effort, and it's not something that you just say, I'll offload it to someone else to create. It's you actually have to find your unique perspective that somebody will want to hear from.
Yeah, you have to do the legwork, right? You can't just show up and hope that the right things come out. You have to do that little bit of research, that little bit of making sure that you're hitting the right targets, that you're talking about the things that people want to hear about, all that stuff.
And if I look at examples here of what I'm seeing around, let me pull up my screen again here. One of the earlier ones that was all over on LinkedIn was
If the
is
metric is
Chris Walker. And if anything, I would say about him is his consistency. Like it was for a while, if anybody in marketing, you open your LinkedIn, you probably just always would see his face, and he just continued to show up. And what he did was he was having these live conversations, teaching, and then he would take snippets and be able to share these snippets on LinkedIn. And so he had a very intentional strategy of sharing. And he definitely had a very forward-thinking perspective on marketing and ROI. But there's a lot of others that are coming forth and styles of this. Talk about like interview style.
why we're successful.
So Dave Gerhardt here, he does a video podcast, and so he's sharing snippets, and whether it's his own wisdom that he'll put in there, or the wisdom of his guests. That's a whole nother side that you can bring on the thought leadership. You can, if you bring in those who are experts in their field, your business can actually ride and ride some of that expertise and get some of the same benefit of just being part of that conversation. And so being able to see this type of content, and then those who put a lot of time in, a lot of time and effort, like Todd Klauser, who actually some very high level production in their
Right.
educational breakdowns, but it's not always required to go to this degree. It's interesting to see the mixture of the different styles when it comes to thought leadership.
Yeah, definitely.
So thought leadership, I think, is a it's gone from early adopters to now really early majority. So this is a perfect time, I think, for folks to be able to get into this. There's so many styles and examples out there to get inspiration from. Then it's just looking, okay, what's the industry that you're in? What particular angle can you take from? And just start with maybe the interview approach and pull on other experts, either internal or external experts, and you can get started. So let's look at the next trend that we're seeing.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Educational and training videos. Yes. So why is this? I mean, this is not new as well. So it's funny
these have
when you
been
look at
around
the trends.
forever.
Yeah, it's like, is this really a trend? What the trend here though is the massive growth in on the B2B side. It's like, I mean, you go to YouTube for how-to videos for ages. How do I fix my broken toilet? But now brands, B2B brands that are putting out really fascinating breakdowns of how do you work on this part of your business, operationalize this, or marketing X or Y, and they're building out their YouTube channels, which primarily used to be a B2C environment. You're seeing massive growth on the B2B side, and I think it's because it stems from the thought leadership. People want education; they want to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I want to learn. I always want to learn.
And it's like a wealth of knowledge online. I think it's whoever is the first one to come to the table with, I have knowledge and I want to share it with you and are genuine. You immediately create a relationship with that audience, and you've are starting to earn their trust, I think,
Yeah, I think so.
with by giving away information for free, which almost sounds counterintuitive. You could still get put an email gate in front of it so people have to enter their email. Some people still do, but it's really those who are giving it away for free that are seeing real massive potential and growth in that. So when it comes to like the lengths, I mean, we're worked on a few different one of these. What would you say is some of the best lengths for this type of content?
I mean, I think that you can get. I mean, customer stories are short, right? Like those are sort of the 2 minutes you're looking at. You can get away with a little bit longer for a training video because people want to learn and they want it to take as long as it takes to learn that thing. Like you can go more into the 5 minute range. I think. Maybe you disagree with me. I don't know.
Even longer.
You think even longer?
I think 5 to 10 minutes is
10
a good
minutes?
sweet spot. But I have seen videos that are performing, so I can even we'll just unpack it right here, that are performing really well, that are so if I look back, I mean, HubSpot was one that's been doing it for a while. But if I even look at some newer ones, this one was just 6 months ago, so the beginning of the year, and they're very niche restaurant owners and trying to show you how to do how to build a profitable brand. And it's a 20-minute video, and they've got a ton of engagement and comments on this thing because they're really breaking down the basics of how does one company charge $5 and another company charge $12 for the same burger.
Right.
And his whole point is it's about branding. And so it's like,
Those burgers look good.
yeah, you want to eat a burger now.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
And it's just like this breakdown, this educational video that teaches you how to do it. That this honestly could have been paid for course or something someone may have charged.
Right.
But they give it away.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that too, looking into things I want to learn and things I'm trying to learn, learning about ChatGPT or, generative AI. Starting out trying to look at like proper courses and then realizing how much is just free on YouTube. Like it so much exists there and I trust it, right?
You're able to immediately, like, you've got an association that this is good stuff and you dig into it. And so if like a business were to put their own educational stuff on there and then you start to follow them, it's discoverability really, and be able to get that awareness.
Absolutely.
That you exist. YouTube is probably one of the biggest ones for how-tos, but it's interesting to start to see some of the same things happening on LinkedIn. This fellow, Travis Tyler, he's putting out for Motion educational videos on YouTube, but then he takes shorter versions of just like one element of the longer educational piece and then puts them on social, and then that way he actually gets more content out of the same effort. So you get 2 or 3 different snippets out of a longer form video, and really good engagement on his videos, breaking down questions. Okay, how does this ad work? And then he'll explain how it works, and you can link back to the full video on YouTube. So,
nice. Yeah, that's great. And the I like these sort of free flowing different platforms, right? Like it's like this leads to that, leads to that. It all leads back to you and your brand.
It's this creating an ecosystem of content. The comment these days
instead of these disparate systems, like YouTube's over there, LinkedIn's over here, my website's over there. They're all connected. It all comes back to it together.
They all work together. That's the era we're in of being able to be on all the different platforms and be able to be present, but also not overload yourself with work. Ideally, if you have the right mindset, it is possible. All right, the last few, we got several more trends to go through, so let's keep rolling. And definitely want to stick around for number 7, but let's go to the next one.
Number 7 is very interesting.
Yes,
but let's move on to number 4. No, yes, 4.
4.
We're at 4.
We're at 4. Storytelling. So this is not a video type, but it's more of like in all of the content that you're doing, you're starting to see that not just here's my product, here's feature dump, promo, but really trying to engage and pull you in with captivating storytelling.
Well, it's sort of funny that this is a trend now because I mean, storytelling is such an ancient craft, right? There's a reason it works. There's a reason these structures work. You talk about the 3-act structure has been around forever, and now you're seeing it pop up. What's the problem? What's the solution? What's the what's the result? How does this play out, right? And now you're seeing it in these in videos of all lengths. And why didn't we think of it sooner?
Well, it's there, but what's fascinating is there are so many mini storytellers. Can I say that? Mini storytellers that are popping up on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts.
Micro storytellers.
Yes, micro storytellers. I like that. Micro storytellers. That if brands and businesses were to put out content, people don't want it. They don't pay attention to it. Where in the past, because it was promoted and it was in your face, people are skipping buy it. And that's why it's
Yeah.
a trend, is because now brands are having to readjust their own content that they're putting out to say, wow, okay, if this is what people are looking for, we gotta adapt. We gotta make sure that every piece we put out has an element of storytelling in it, or even the only element is storytelling. And then people are just fascinated with your brand, and then they'll follow, and because you're not going to put a funny story on all of your content. Sometimes you just have to do a product demo or a
Yeah.
thought leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we want to like look at some of the other concepts, I'll pull some examples here. But like breaking down even like humor, right? I think that's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you can add humor into, and that's something that's actually funny, that's a huge draw.
This one was just last year. I'm going to pull up this example, and it was around Google's change in what they were doing in marketing with GA4. For those that do Google Analytics will know, and they put out this entire film, and they they had a hashtag going called Googleheimer. So they were able to go on the trope of Oppenheimer last year, and they made a whole film kind of spoofing the movie. So they actually put a lot of production value into this. So it's always like fun to see the kind of the bigger productions. And so you're looking at this and they're like, all right, it's coming, it's coming. And then at the very end, then they actually turn it to their product, Matomo, which is the alternative to Google's analytics platform. So it's a very creative way. They could have just put out a quick update, product promo, etc., that just shows off all the features. But instead, they're doing this massive storytelling to say, oh no, this GA4 change is happening. It's coming. What are you going to do? And then you get to the end to say, oh, we'll just get Matomo. And then
awesome.
That's it. So I love. Obviously, not everyone has the budget to do that kind of storytelling. So then, when you look at some of the other things, it's pretty interesting to see individuals. So if anything, you're actually finding lo-fi can get just as much engagement, if not more. So this is one. Tim Davidson. He does a lot of funny, interesting storytelling content that can pull you in. The same person, smartphone footage, it pulls you in. Another one that I am a fan of is, and he does a lot of storytelling, is, oh, that was the same one here. Let's see if I can find it. I'll come back to it later.
Too many tabs, Alex. That's what happens.
So many tabs. It's like I want to have all the examples, but I'm not going to be able to find them all.
Sometimes that's just life.
Yeah, if anything, it's like if you're not going to go for a massive film, it's finding a unique storyteller in your own organization that can be that face and that kind of start to tell it. Travis, he actually has done that himself. It's like he started to tell a lot more stories. Now, this is an educational version, but he's done a lot of other types of content that is more story-driven, and it's a mixture of it. So it's never only just one piece of content, but that's the growth of like identifying who in your organization is a good storyteller, and you can kind of let them play around and be able to have some fun and make your business more approachable.
Definitely.
All right, let's keep rolling as time keeps
moving on
rolling.
to product demos and tutorials.
Oh yeah, product demos, tutorials. Also, you're like, okay, this isn't necessarily new, but why we put this in here? And it's because the changes in that type of content that I'm starting to pay attention to, and also how accessible it is and the quantity of companies that have these demo videos. And part of that trend is also having real people in them. That's a difference. Like before, you would have very animated like or stick figures or other things trying to show how it works, but it's being able to break down how it works now with a person on screen and be able to show off the product itself.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because you worked on a few of those of like what works well and someone's wanting to do a product demo, I mean, what do you think makes it engaging?
I mean, I think it's the same idea that even though you're demoing a product, you need to keep a lightness to it, right? You need to be authentic, and it's great if you just bring your real knowledge to it, right? Like you need to same as we were talking about before. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be prepared, right? And there's like, and yes, it's your product, but like putting in that little bit of effort ahead of time to make sure you have your ducks in a row, to make sure you know exactly what features you're showing off, and have an engaging speaker. If the person that is giving the demo is engaging, people will watch it. I mean, people who want to buy that thing will get sucked in. So that's a huge thing as well.
The the content, the speaker, and then the visuals. It's like if you're looking at all the ingredients of what's going to keep someone engaged and putting it there. Obviously, if it's a demo, they're already interested in your product. It's just a question
exactly.
how well can
like
you.
If somebody's sitting there watching a demo of your product, it's because they want to know what it does.
Right.
And if you have the added benefit of it being good quality, having an engaging speaker showcase it, being a good length and going through at a good pace, then it's much more likely to convert, right? That much more likely that person is going to go, I think this is for me.
Yes, yes, indeed. If you want to see some good examples, my tabs are starting to break, so I'm just going to explain it. HubSpot, of course, is a great one. You can see there, you put it right on their YouTube channel. You can see how they start off with a captivating speaker, and then they do a side-by-side screen recording. And it's interesting they put it on YouTube to get just almost some search engine love of people searching for like CRM solutions. How do I set up a CRM? Then they come across HubSpot CRM. They're like, oh yeah. So you might get an even additional benefit from that. One of our own folks that we work with, it's interesting, they've used their product demo in their outbound efforts and saying, hey, we'd love to send you a quick 3-minute demo before you even have to get on a call with us. It can be a great way to bridge that gap and of getting that initial interest, say, yeah, sure, I'll take that next step.
Well, yeah, because committing to a 60-minute demo call or whatever, right? That feels like a big ask. And if you can already know that the thing that's going to be demoed is probably going to help your business, then it's much more likely that you're going to take that leap.
I heard the stat from him as well of 80% of the people that watched the demo booked a sales call. I mean, that's impressive to be able to hear that.
That's actually a wild stat. You never get stats like that. Like, that's great.
Yes. So it's like there's great value on once people have found about you, you've built that brand, you've engaged them because your thought leadership and your storytelling and your customer stories. Now they're looking at your demo, your product demo. All right. Now use that to actually get them to book a call. It's pretty powerful. All right, let's go to number 6 here. Personalized and interactive video content. This is still a little bit more on the early adopter, but I feel like it's just starting to get into the early majority phase here. And the whole idea is like, how do you personalize at mass your video content or make it more interactive and engaging? I'll just quickly show, I think my tabs are working here, the two things that I've seen for this. One is for the outreach. If you're sending out communications, you want to personalize a little bit. This tool, Pitch Lane, which I looked into, you can upload a video and then it will automatically also then upload your list, and then it'll customize the intro portion to that audience set that you're doing. And actually, you can browse their website. Or you can put in a website you want it to show off a screen recording, so it'll show off their website and then the rest of your content together, and it can create a very unique, potentially engaging at scale. So I'm always fascinated but wary of AI solutions that make it seem like it's personalized, but there are some interesting cases where this could be quite useful. The other one is interactive, that kind of personalized experience. Tate Law here, he uses this kind of video funnel, so he keeps it engaging and he helps find out, okay, what are you most interested in? And then as you continue down the road,
cool.
and then you can continue to follow that choose your own journey type of experience, which is pretty cool.
Like goosebumps.
Another style of this, instead of just being on the homepage, Human Marketing, it's a marketing agency. They have a similar
How's it
thing,
going? I'm Joel,
and you can
CEO.
meet the people again and put the face behind the brand, but also you're a little bit of that interactivity, and you can find out more specific information that you're looking for in a quick, interactive way. So this is a growing trend that I'm seeing, but whether it's the bottom right little widgets or it's a full experience, it's pretty fascinating.
Nice.
To see that. All right, trend number
7.
yes, number 7.
We're ready for number 7.
Let's do
You
it.
ready?
Yes. Short form videos.
Woo!
Yes. Massive. This is the growth of, because of, I would say it started with TikTok. It really exploded it. People are used to consuming things in under 60 seconds. And so the desire for it has just exploded, and brands are starting to finally catch up. And it's fascinating to see this when there's a massive demand, but the supply is low. You could put almost anything out and you'll get seen. So it's a great opportunity, I think, for businesses right now. And some of the funnels, it's like, it doesn't have to be too hard. All you're doing is taking out snippets from longer form content. But any thoughts on how do you do this well? Of like, you got to keep in mind for making sure that it keeps engaging and the right stories are coming across?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I don't have as much experience in this area.
Short form is its
Short
own
form is
whole
its
beast.
own thing. Yeah. Like in my personal expertise is in the 2-minute, right? In the
Yes,
2-minute range.
the longer form content.
Well,
yeah.
which is funny because that used to be the short form content, but I'm old now, and 2 minutes is long.
It's funny to think that, like, 5-10 minutes, that used to be the
Yeah.
the main.
But
But
I mean, I
it's-
think it's the same. It comes back to the same principles, right? It's about engaging people. It's about finding ways to capture people's interest off the bat, right? Not leaving the. I mean, I think an old tactic used to be you leave the sort of the big reveal to the end. But I think in short content, you reveal and then you explain how you got there.
Yes, you put the hook at the beginning that is like, here it is. Now stick around to find out how I got to this, like how this happened.
I think about that with like recipe videos, right? Where like they show you like the completed thing, and then it loops back and you see the rest of the video. Eventually it can loop forever, but they start at the end. And that's why you want it, because you're like, oh, that looks good.
It's like front loading that at the beginning that captures their attention. Another big piece is thinking less is less formal, more fun, more just approachable, lo-fi. It can perform a lot better.
Oh, definitely. You don't want it to look polished.
No. Yeah, so it's like less branded will help you in the long run, though it can be counterintuitive to some brands when they're thinking about it. There are a ton of examples, but we actually have gone a little bit longer than we had planned for today, so this is good. To really unpack this, though, we've got a whole article. I'll make sure I'll put it in the comments for those that are watching live here, that you can go and see some of those examples. But these are the 7 different trends that we've been seeing and tracking. Again, some of them you look at and say, well, it's not new, but what the difference is how they're being done, and the growth of the quantity of content and the opportunity for any brand to jump in and take advantage of it. So I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for joining us on today's chat.
Take care.